Greetings, art teachers. My name is Beth Depperstein, and I'm from Eagle, Wisconsin. I teach kindergarten through fifth grade. I also teach high school online, and I will be starting my PhD at the University of Wisconsin Milwaukee in curriculum and instruction for urban education. I'm very excited to be with you tonight. If you look at the picture, that is myself with my new little baby grandson, Milo. It's my first grandson, so I'm very excited about having him join us tonight too. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to look at a few thinking routines tonight. And I know sometimes thinking routines don't always sound like fun, but I'll tell you, my students really enjoy them. And I thought this would be something somewhat easy to start the fall off with. They're not hard, and they actively engaged our students and their wonderful minds. So, thinking about thinking, that is a very simplified definition of metacognition, which you may remember from your earlier college years. Um, Ron Richard, he wrote an essay in the book. It's called Making Thinking Visible, and it's called Unpacking Thinking. And it really kind of summarized what many of us want our students to leave with. I mean, yes, we want them to leave with their art making skills, but also the ability to solve problems and make decisions and develop new understanding using the methods and tools of our discipline and be able to connect those to other disciplines. Um, I had the wonderful privilege of being able to teach and participate in the Teachers Institute at the National Gallery of Art last year. One of the books that they gave us was Making Thinking Visible. It really gives some great thinking routines that really can help our students think about thinking. So as we think about thinking and they think about thinking, our lessons will deepen and the understanding and engagement will increase. So there was a few other colleagues that Ron Richard got together with, David Perkins, Shari Tishman, who was at the Institute, and Patricia Palmer. They set themselves the task of trying to identify a short list of high leverage thinking moves that serve understanding well. The ones I use all of these in my activities with the students, but we always seem to begin with the observing closely and describing what's there. From there, we go into building explanations and interpretations. But reasoning with evidence is one that I specifically really enjoy seeing the students when they get that. It's really kind of neat to see them support their opinions with evidence and ideas that they have gathered from what they have observed. Making connections is always important, especially between other content areas and with their world that they live. But number 5, I think, is very relevant for what our students are going through this year between COVID and other political and difficulties that are in our society right now and things that we are struggling with. But considering different viewpoints and perspectives is so important for our students. If they want to succeed in society, they need to be able to empathize and understand other people's viewpoints and perspectives, or at least try to. Capturing the heart and forming conclusions, wondering and asking questions, and uncovering complexity and going below the surface of things. All very important life skills that our students could benefit from learning. So the thinking routines that we're going to look at today is see, think, and wonder, which is very popular. A lot of people do that, but we're going to kind of combine it with what's called zoom in, which is another thinking routine that I'll be sharing with you. But why should we even bother with thinking routines? To the extent that students can develop a greater awareness of thinking processes, they become more independent learners, capable of directing and managing their own cognitive actions. If any of you are tab teachers, teaching for artistic behavior, or choice teachers, sometimes referred to as, you know how important it is to develop an independent learner, learners who are confident to take risk and they're capable of directing their learning. So we'll look a little bit more deeply at this in just a minute. So, one of the resources that I found really beneficial that was provided by the National Gallery of Art, and you can use it too, it's free, it's on their website, it's under the Education Department site, the tab there, and it's called Uncovering America. And it's a curriculum that has numerous different topics that you can choose from. And with those topics comes all different art images that are free to use, and even some activities that you can do with your kids. So I found it just really, really valuable. Um, I put the website down there for you to check it out when you get a chance. There's also a link on that website for free posters. You can send in your name and address, and they'll send you some wonderful free posters with activities that you can do. So, empathy. I tell my kids to think with their head, but think with their heart. So, empathy is a combination of both of those. Feeling what others may be feeling, trying to put yourself in their place and try to understand, knowing that we'll never totally understand what someone else is going through unless we have personally experienced it, but at least trying to feel what they're feeling and just listening and being there for them. So, the guiding questions that we used for the lesson that I'm going to share with you on people and their environment is: in what ways have Americans impacted the environment? What is our collective responsibility towards the earth and each other? And how do artists engage with these questions through works of art? So, if you look above, you see a really beautiful picture done by Ansel Adams, the Tetons and the Snake River. Um, this is a contrast to the one I'm going to be showing you in a little bit. But so I did a project with the grade level, third to eighth grade is what it's probably appropriate for. Some of the connections to other subject matters include science, history, ecology, social studies, ornithology, cartography, technology, general education teachers, and community partnerships were all different areas that we collaborated together. So, like I mentioned earlier, that I am in a small rural town in Eagle, Wisconsin. It is Title I, and it's just outside of Milwaukee. So our students do have access to art museums and other benefits of living near an urban area. But they had a limited experience with thinking routines. So some of the materials that we used, we actually borrowed from the library iPads, and then we used some watercolor brushes and papers and pencils. And the last project we did, we used printing foam, ink, and copier paper. So the first project was what I call the iPad exploration. Um, the students took iPads outside, and they, after studying the Ansel Adams picture, they went outside looking for things that were beautiful. They looked for light, black and white. They also looked for interesting textures and shapes and designs. After they had taken their pictures, they came back in and they edited their pictures on their iPad. We used Photo Booth, which was, you can, all different types of ways to edit with Photo Booth. And one of their goals was to create a little bit of dramatic lighting. So the following slide, these are their photographs that they created after viewing Ansel Adams' work. So the first thinking routine that I'm going to share with you is, what do you see? So the students had to look closely and name everything that they see. So they may list sticks, they may list branches or tree trunks. They may list logs and things that look like destruction. Then asking them, what do you think is going on? And they explained a little bit more about the branches. Oh, maybe there was a storm or a hurricane or a tornado that went through. And then the follow-up question is, what did you see that made you think that? And many of them said, well, the broken branches, the cut off trees, the mess. Then I said, let's zoom in a little bit and look a little closer. So we zoomed in, and when you look really close, you can see that there is a man laying down or sitting down right at the trunk of a tree. So the zoom in thinking routine, there's a couple things that you can do with this. So you start with an image and you show the kids only maybe part of the image. Now, right now I'm showing you the whole image, but you can start with just a little part of the image and use you ask the kids what they see, and after each time they make an observation, you expand the image a little bit farther to show a little bit more detail till finally they can see the whole image. So you ask them, what do you see or you notice? You can, if it's a little bit older level class, you can ask them, what are your hypotheses or your interpretations of what this might be based on? What are you on what you are seeing? And then as you expand the image, what new things do you see? How does this change your hypothesis or your interpretation? Has the new information answered any of your wonders or changed your previous ideas? What new things are you wondering about? Um, so you repeat the reveal and the questioning until the whole image has been revealed. Um, and then at the very end, you ask what lingering questions remain for you about this image. So as we really studied and worked on our observation skills, the students picked up more and more details. But then I wanted to tie in the empathy. So we had used our head already, and we really made a nice list of everything we had noticed. But then I wanted them to really think with their heart a little bit and describe how that man is feeling. So I said, imagine yourself sitting there. What do you think it felt like? What do you think it smelled like? Noises do you hear? How do you think he is feeling? How do you think his heart feels at that moment when he looks around? And then I flip back to the Ansel Adam picture of the beautiful scenery and the majestic mountains and the river winding through. And then we do a little comparison study. Um, and then we always follow it up. What do you see? What do you think is going on? Um, what do you see that made you think that? So they have to support their answers with evidence. What do you see that makes you think that? Um, so they really learned to support their ideas and their opinions. Um, and then we moved on to what is something that you are curious about or worried or wonder about. So tying it into their own personal life helps also to deepen this lesson. So the projects created after viewing this, and we went on another day. So now we looked at how have humans impacted the land. And some, found, oh, the birdhouse. Yep, we put a birdhouse out there. It impacts land. Is it good? Yeah. Could some of humans' impacts be bad? And so then someone found the tree trunk, and she took a picture of her hand shadow over the tree trunk, and she said, "Yeah, humans have cut down a lot of trees. We, like in the picture that we saw from Robert Adams, with the man sitting in it." So the other girl did a shadow, kind of like, what is my impact on the environment? What do I need to do? And she stood there. So it was her connecting with her environment and thinking about what her role is. What can she do next? So the kids were really excited about this unit and really wanted to know how they can make a positive change for their environment. So I asked them, well, how might you individually or with others contribute to solutions to make a change in your own school or community? And now this is off the National Gallery of Art People in the Environment activity suggestions. And they suggest that you can be community scientist, also known as citizen scientist. And I shared this with the students. I said, would you like to be citizen scientists? And they're like, absolutely. They were excited about it. So I said, one of the ways that we can conduct research and contribute data to science projects is by tracking birds. So if you look on the bottom and on the website down there, I listed, you can look for how to be a citizen scientist. It'll show how to do that. So our project 2 was positive printmaking. So the students each got a bird list, and they went home and they documented the different birds that they saw in their area. And then they brought their list back to school, and we created a ID on eBird for our school site, and we documented all the birds on a map using the eBird website. So what was really interesting with this is when they saw the map up on our TV screen in the classroom, a lot of them had never seen where their house was in relationship to the school or their area. People don't look at maps much anymore. They're all looking on their phone at small little GPSs. And so just talking about maps and how maps work and figuring out location was actually a kind of an added benefit. So they picked a bird from their list and they researched the bird. Then they drew the bird on foam. You can use meat trays or you can actually buy foam printing plates. But they drew it with a pencil and then we inked it. And then what I did was I printed out a map on just copy paper. We didn't have a huge budget at our school, so we just printed it out on copy paper. And then the kids printed their image of their bird on their copy paper. So here you can see eBird. That's what it looks like. It's really fun. It's really fun to see. And there's a map that shows all the different sightings of birds on eBird. And when I was telling them that you are actually people from all over the world can look at Eagle, Wisconsin and see what kind of birds are here, they thought that was pretty cool that they could be a scientist and contribute that. So here are some of their prints that they made. And if you look in the background, you can see the maps that they were printed on. You could do a reduction print too if you wanted to add more colors, but we just kept it basic with black and white on their maps. So in what ways have Americans impacted the environment? So on the National Gallery of Art website, under People in the Environment, they have some other images. And the image of the John James Audubon passenger pigeon image was one that we talked about a little bit and shared with them the story about how the birds were no longer with us. They've been hunted out of existence. And so the kids really empathized with that and how people have impacted the environment. So they wanted to keep moving forward. So they went back to their bird list and picked out another bird. And then we did a watercolor drawing of it and painting. And they just enjoyed this. We sat outside in the grass and with watercolors and in our natural environment and created images of the birds that were from their list. These, I believe, were hummingbirds. Here are a few more owls and turkeys and cardinals. And they had to learn the names and where the kind of environment the birds lived in. So we did a little bit of study of the birds. And then our nearby is our Natural Resources, Department of Natural Resources, State Forest headquarters. And they put their work up for a show and left it up for the community to come see what the kids have created, see their research on the data they collected on the birds. And so now the kids were excited because they actually impacted the community with their research and the sharing of the information that they had gathered. So how can we help? The kids still were not ready to let it go. So one student came in one day and said, can we create bug hotels? I had to look it up to see what it was. And if you look on the left, that is a bug hotel. And that was created by one of my students who learns differently. She's nonverbal, but she enjoyed feeling all the different textures and pushing them into these tubes. And what you do is you hang them outside and bugs crawl into them and make little homes. And they make little nests for the good bugs. So thinking with their head to help the environment and thinking with their heart as they're thinking of the creatures that are in their environment. So what are some takeaways? Thinking routines can help promote empathy, resulting in a meaningful experience. Thinking routines help students make connections between a cause or an issue and their own art. Thinking routines help students to go deeper, making the complex accessible. So here I put the information on there for the online course. If you want to learn more about thinking routines, this is free. I don't work for them. I just thought it was so valuable that I wanted to share it with you. But it's the online course is on edX, and it is teaching critical thinking through art. with the National Gallery of Art. And I mean, it's got downloads, it's got videos, it's really great. And then you can print out your certificate at the end too, which is always great to share with your principal and your coworkers. So I hope that you will try thinking routines. They're a fun way to start your school year, getting the kids to kind of reflect on their own thinking, and plus it can be very engaging. So have a great night. Thank you.